Hey y'all, welcome to the Coyote Trapping School podcast, episode number 7. I'm your host, Chris Pope, and today we're going to talk about, I thought, with the last episode, number 6, talking about the fur market and different options or opportunities for potentially making fur. And, you know, in thinking back about it, I thought about, I kind of maybe downplayed or maybe even gave you the wrong impression of the possibilities and the opportunities that trapping can provide. So I thought maybe I should follow that up with some of the ways that trapping has kind of impacted my life. Like I said, I thought a little bit more about that and thought this might be a good follow-up. So first off, I want to say thanks to everybody that's watching, following, getting some good feedback, and downloads are consistently going up from the video or from the audio portion of the podcast, and then the YouTube views, getting good feedback on that too. So I appreciate y'all watching, listening, following along. And I just wanted to give a special shout out to Creative Nick, who left us an awesome 5-star rating and review on iTunes. Nick, if you will send me your email or email me, chris@coyotetrappingschool.com, and I will get you hooked up with a Coyote Trapping School shirt just to show you a little bit of appreciation for doing that, putting that up, and for giving us some kind words and words of encouragement. The ratings and reviews help the rankings in iTunes, which helps how many people see your podcast. So the more of those we can get, the better. And so I will continue, as long as there's people that are posting reviews, I'll try to support and encourage and show appreciation for that. I hope it gets to the point that I have to do a drawing or something because there's so many people. But anyway, if you're in iTunes, I'm not sure. I'm sure there's somehow you can do it in Google Play, but I don't know how it is. But I know in iTunes you can leave a rating, 5-star rating, and leave a review, write a review out. Both of those are a plus. So give me all your feedback. I am wide open and want to make this as good as possible. And I think that it is going well, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm getting good feedback. So we're going to keep it rolling. Okay, so for today's topic, actually, what made me think about this was I wrote an article several years ago that went in Trapper's Post. That I can't remember what it was. The article was officially titled, but I titled it from my writing, my draft, "Permanent Vacation." And if you're not familiar, editors tend to change things if they don't like them. So, but in that, looking back, probably could have chose a little bit different title. It wasn't what I had on my mind. Kind of what I had on my mind was the title of "Trapping for a Living." And I just wanted to touch on like in the last episode, I kind of downplayed the possibility, and I don't want to say I downplayed it, because from my experience, being the experience of one person who has ebbed and flowed some, I've not necessarily been consistent in my targeting and running and seriousness of the trap line year in and year out, but it's been pretty consistent over the past 15 years that I've sent fur to market. I've trapped, and I've had fur available and dealt with the selling process and how that, I guess, my experience is particularly with our southern furs and in the southern market that I'm in, trapping in Georgia and even out in Arkansas when I was in Arkansas. So definitely the takeaway, for me, looking back over my history of selling fur, is that I have not, I would even venture to say that I haven't made a significant additional portion of income from fur trapping. How about that? So there's definitely been years where I've covered expenses, and maybe I had enough to buy some more traps or upgrade my trapping gear, which I've done some of. But overall, I've never had the opportunity to really supplement my income through fur trapping. And I think there are opportunities that in the U.S., I guess you could say, I think there definitely are opportunities depending on where you're at. That is very possible, and that people every year do that. Depending on how the markets are and what fur's in demand. In the Midwest is a great raccoon region, and during times when raccoon prices are high, those guys can really get after it and stack up the coons, hundreds and hundreds, even thousands of coons. And during those times, there's no doubt they're making some greenbacks. So, and like I said, in general, there's otter price, pretty much all fur. You know, here recently, coyotes. The last year, coyote prices have been up really well, and you know, people up in the Midwest and a little bit up farther north that could put up numbers of coyotes. You know, they're making decent money from the fur. From my perspective, from the South, the best opportunity that you have, depending on where you're at and if it's legal, is if you have a foothold or have an in to the live market, where you can get anywhere from $50 to $100 for a coyote or a fox live, because our furs just can't compete with that. So, you know, like I said, I guess the gist of that is there are some opportunities. What I'm getting at is my experience over the past, and I'm beating a dead horse there, I know, but my experience in my career of trapping has been that fur has not been a really viable source of, you know, any kind of supplemental income. But the point of this whole episode is kind of to get across that that's not everything. So I guess one aspect, and we'll go through, I'm going to give you a little bit of my experience and my background, maybe a little more than I covered in the first episode, but you know, there's definitely options trapping to make money, like doing nuisance trapping and, you know, targeting things like that, where you're not necessarily tied to the fur market, but you're being paid to do a service, and I've taken advantage of that as you know, as an opportunity to provide a little bit of supplemental income. That is something that can provide something substantial that's worth, I hate to say this, worth doing, but if you're interested in that, that can be something that may be helpful there. But more than that, I mean, I don't really want this even to be about money at all, because the biggest thing that I've taken away and that I still carry with me every day with my trapping career is really the relationships that I've made and the experiences that I've had and been fortunate enough to have. And a lot of that is because of trapping and the people that has kind of introduced me to and the opportunities. So starting off, you know, one of the first, I got into trapping when I was in high school, and one of the ways that I kind of got started and got my foot in the door was I started going to the Georgia Trappers Association conventions, and I met some awesome trappers there that really took me under their wing and you know, let me go out on their trap lines with them and show me what they were doing, give me pointers, and really kind of school me up. And I had one trapper in particular that the Georgia Trappers Association hosts a competition every year, and it moves around the state. And there's another older fellow, not an older fellow, but I guess at that time he was in his mid 40s, and so we met up and we all got together. And what you do is you meet up on a Friday, you draw lots for the area that you're trapping, you set traps all day Friday. You can only set 12 traps, but then you come back and check them Saturday, and you come back and check them Sunday, and then you get points based on how many traps, how many animals you caught, and what type of animal that you caught. And so anyway, we got done checking traps, and me and him decided that we would split the cost of a room. You know, I think I was still in high school at the time, maybe college. Anyway, so just kind of lighten the burden of the room cost. And man, we just got to talking, and I was really trying to pick his brain about trapping, and we just developed a friendship. I mean, almost overnight. And it's one thing that if you are a trapper, you can kind of relate to that. Is if you're a trapper, it doesn't matter where you go. You walk into the room and there's another trapper there, you got somebody to talk to. I would venture to say that a lot of trappers are probably like myself. We are not the most lively person and the most outgoing person that goes into a room and makes rounds and talk to everybody. So, you know, to be able to, wherever you go, if there's another trapper there, you got a kind of there's a brotherhood there that you're automatically in just because you're a trapper. And so anyway, you know, over that weekend, like I said, me and him, we really hit it off, and I was absorbing everything that he was, you know, willing to share about trapping and all. And so later on, I guess right when we got ready to leave after the weekend was over, I mentioned to him that I was looking for something. I had to do an internship. So I was actually in college. That's what it was. And I had to have an internship. And so he said, well, let's stay in touch, and I might could help you out. I said, hey, that'd be awesome, you know. So we stayed in touch, and I wound up actually getting the chance to go and spend the summer with him and his wife. It's a kind of a funny story, but you know, they took me in, this was 150 miles from home, anywhere that I had room and board, and so to go down there and try to find a place to rent for 3 months and all that, that would have been a definite huge struggle. So he said, hey, you know, we got my kids are in college and they're out, we got a spare room. And his wife wasn't too happy because inviting a stranger to live with them, but it wound up being, I mean, they're, you know, I consider them like a second set of parents now. It's just awesome people, and we developed just a great relationship. But anyway, he actually wound up getting a couple of beaver contracts. So I did nuisance beaver trapping during the summer, and then he was also the nuisance alligator trapper for the area. So I got to trap beavers during the day, and we caught alligators at night. And man, you talk about an awesome experience for anybody. That was one of the most fun summers I've ever had, and it exactly boils down to trapping and the relationships and the people that I met trapping. If I'd have never started trapping, you know, if I'd have never gone to that competition, we'd have never met, and I'd have never had that opportunity. And man, that just trickled down into so many things. The next summer, I just graduated from college with my wildlife degree, and there was an opportunity. There was a job in Alaska, and it was just a kind of a technician job, driving a boat. It was a remote job, so it was living from a campsite on an island, and mainly driving a boat, but also doing some mapping and different things, very, very outdoor related. And there was a lot of interest. I mean, from an outdoors related school, you know, a forestry school with forestry and wildlife people, and you know, the opportunity to go to Alaska for free and get paid as well. You know, there was a lot of interest and a lot of competition. But because of my experience trapping, because of my experience running a boat, and you know, working in rough and rugged conditions, I was at the top of the list. I mean, I don't want to sound arrogant, but I guess, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of competition, I guess, when it was looked at from the perspective of my resume versus others. And the kind of the odd thing about it, you wouldn't expect it, but I think it's kind of becoming a trend typically forestry is a larger portion of the outdoor, I guess, schools. The forestry and wildlife are usually lumped together, and traditionally forestry has always been the larger percentage, had more interest and more majors. Wildlife has overtaken that now, but a lot of the people that are in the wildlife school, and it's growing, a lot of the people getting wildlife biology and wildlife management degrees are not the folks like me and you. They're city folks, you know, folks from Atlanta and the cities that grown up watching National Geographic and Animal Planet, and that's where their kind of love and desire for wildlife and the outdoors has grown from, not the hands-on experience that you and I have of going and, you know, hunting and fishing and trapping. It's more of a wanting to do that stuff and a wanting to get in a place like that. So, like I say, when you look at it from that perspective, you got a bunch of people that are very interested, but don't really have any of the experience camping for long portions of time and dealing with rugged weather and remote terrain. There wasn't a lot of competition from just a practicality standpoint. So that was another thing that set me off, again, directly related to my trapping and my outdoor pursuits. Then I came back and got a job with the USDA. We were actually catching and collaring white-tailed deer that was not with the USDA, that was with the U.S. Forest Service. But for a research project, actually trying to determine the level of predation that coyotes were having on deer in this particular area. And so we were catching using rocket nets and dart guns. I never got to shoot the dart guns, but I did definitely man the rocket nets. And it was just basically we had a whole bunch of bait sites that we were luring the deer up to, and we were running trail cameras and, you know, running 25 or 30 of these sites, and whenever we get deer pattern where they was coming in a consistent time, we'd go out and we'd lay a net, like a 40-foot net with rockets on it, and we would get up in a deer stand, and depending on when they were coming, whether they were coming in at day or night, we would set up there with either an infrared scope or just set up where we could see them and have the detonator there, and when they got just right, fire it, catch the does. We were targeting does, and then put in a vaginal implant transmitter that would actually, when they gave birth, it would come out, and you could detect that they had just given birth. So we need to go in and collar the fawns, because they were looking at fawn predation by coyotes. And so, anyway, there again, some of the experience, my outdoor experience, my trapping, my tracking skills, all that played into that. And then, golly, I feel like I hope I'm not going through redoing the first episode, but that again, a couple years, the next summer, I had to find another internship because I went back to get my master's degree, of course, and got the opportunity through, right after I did the U.S. Forest Service, I worked for a short time with USDA Wildlife Services. And for those of you that don't know, that's kind of the nuisance trapping branch of the USDA. So depending on where you are, not a lot of people know about them or are familiar with them. It's probably more prevalent out west. People know about them more out west, but in the east here, they do a lot of beaver work, also deer work, hog control, a good variety of things. I got the opportunity to work with them catching geese, pigeons, and doing some predator work on some smaller plantation type areas. That got my foot in the door with USDA, and I actually found out through them that USDA has had a trapping program in Alaska on the Aleutian Islands, trapping Arctic foxes, or on some of the islands red foxes. And so that helped me to get my foot in the door and get my name in the hat for that job the following summer. And because again I had trapping experience, that's a job there's a lot of people that are interested, just because again they're going to pay you to go to Alaska, but you know how to handle a gun safely, you know how to set traps, you know how to run a trap line, you don't have to be trained from the ground up in all of those aspects. That led me right to the top of the pile, and so I got that job and had, man, I can't express to y'all how awesome Alaska is and how much I want to go back. But anyway, so there again, I got the opportunity because of my trapping experience to go to Alaska a second time, get paid to do, and this time I actually got to trap in Alaska, which is a dream come true, absolutely. So, and then, you know, on top of that, I've had the opportunity to write several articles for different publications around trapping, and you know, all of that in my mind plays into, you know, all this stuff are jobs that I had, I got, and when I'm getting paid because of trapping. And then, you know, my current job for the past, I guess, pushing 10 years is as a forester by trade. And so I picked that vocation because that was something I knew I could do that paid pretty well, was consistent, and would keep me outside. And so for the most part, as with any job, the higher you go, typically the less fun things you wind up getting to do. And so my time in the field has come down a little bit since my early days. But you know, I've got to do a job where I spend a lot of time in the woods, a lot of time walking in the woods, still seeing wildlife, interacting with wildlife, and you know, people on the ground, hunters and neighboring landowners and things, and finding deer sheds and just getting out reading sign. You know, I think as trappers we all look at something. I see things. I can be walking through the woods with another forester and see things that they never see, just because of my eye attuned to always looking for sign of, you know, seeing an otter toilet or a beaver slide or, you know, coyote scat or something like that. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to give a follow up to say that, you know, yeah, there may not be a lot of great opportunities to make money specifically from selling your fur, but the relationships, you know, golly, the majority of the people that I am in contact with on a regular basis are people that I met through the Trappers Association or trappers of some kind, and you know, that includes all of y'all. You know, some of the invites and the relationships that I've formed have been from YouTube and Instagram and just other trappers following along with what I'm doing, and so that's a lot of fun. And like I said earlier, you know, trapping's kind of a brotherhood, and you get into it, and you know, for whatever reason, you've got a bond with other trappers that no matter where you go, no matter what you're doing, you can go to Australia. If there's a guy that traps red foxes in Australia, you can pick right up and never miss a beat, you know. And so I just think that's pretty awesome, the relationship and the bond that's there and the bond that can be formed, because you know, most trappers are good people, and that's what it boils down to, is they give you the shirt off their back and help you any way they can. And those are the kind of people that I like to associate with and spend my time with. So like I said, you know, from a fur aspect, trapping's probably not the best thing to get involved in from a money aspect and fur, but you know, for awesome opportunities that can be provided, and you know, super quality people that you can meet and come in contact with, there's a lot to be said about that. So looking back, man, I wouldn't change it. You know, it's been awesome and continues to be. And this, you know, this whole social media thing and YouTube and all, and the ability to connect with so many more people, and to, you know, try to help encourage people's trapping career and get people started and learn from other people so easily, you know, thousands of miles away, is pretty awesome. So it's only going to get better, and like I always say, I appreciate y'all following along. I hope this was valuable and not just a rehash of some of the other stuff, but I did just want to point out that there are a lot of kind of fringe benefits, I guess you could say, from being a trapper that doesn't necessarily show up in a paycheck or a fur check, but it's there, and if you sit and think about it for a minute, it's very real. So anyway, hope y'all enjoyed this episode. Thanks for following along, and we'll see you next time. Hey, I just wanted to say thanks for watching, thanks for following, thanks for listening, ever how you're consuming this. And if you want to show some support, I appreciate your support of just watching, leaving comments, and interacting with me. If you want to show a little support and help support the podcast, the YouTube channel, and the trapping endeavors, and us bringing you the content, be sure to go to CoyoteTrappingSchool.com. We've got an online store there where we have some coyote merchandise. So if you need a lucky trapping hat, we got you covered there. If you need a little more luck on the trap line, got some Coyote Trapping School hats, shirts, gloves, bags. We also carry some Minnesota trap line products, baits, lures, and urines. Top quality stuff that I use on my trap line every year, and also sell those in packages. So if you're interested in getting started and you don't really know what baits or lures to use, you can buy one of the packages that we've got, that I've got kind of pre-selected. That's a great starting point to get out there and start catching game. Also, if you're new to trapping and want to learn more about it, want a clear, concise, and central location to learn how to do it, the Coyote Trapping 101 course that I put together takes you from start to finish, from the bottom up. So far, you know, what gear you need, how to set a trap, where to set traps, and how to set your traps, and even what to do after you catch your animal, your coyote, skin it, marketing your furs, and all that. Like I said, all that's in one central location. If you're tired of trying to piece together and part together YouTube videos and forum comments and different things, go to this one central place. Soon we'll be adding different species: raccoon, bobcat, beaver, otter, fox, to try to make that a well-rounded trapping library, not just specifically coyote trapping, but if you're interested in trapping, that's the place that you can go to and watch the videos that you need when you need them on your time, and learn specifically how to get started trapping. So be sure that's also on the website at Coyote Trapping School. Be sure to check that out, and I appreciate y'all following along. I appreciate the support, and I hope y'all are killing it on the trap line. Good luck this season.